I'm Rob Gowan, and I'm here with Ryan Krause, who's running for Texas's U.S. Congressional District 35. All right, Ryan, what can you tell us about Congressional District 35 now?
Wow, it's a beautiful district. I mean, that's all that comes to mind is it's absolutely phenomenal. When I first felt like God's calling me to jump into this race, I looked at this district and it was downtown Austin, straight up Interstate 35 to downtown San Antonio, and it's just a very liberal district that honestly needs a good conservative American to lead it. But to be honest, it concerned me because I was like, I'm not sure how would I win that, and then before I knew it, it was just it was like God put a map of Texas right in front of me and said, draw your district. And it turned out, I mean, the district that it is now is 100% of Guadalupe County, 100% of Karnes County, 100% of Wilson County, and then the southern and eastern parts of Bexar County. And it is just an absolutely incredible district that, I mean, it's where I grew up. It's where my family is from for, we argue, 7 or 8 generations now. And so it's an amazing district that I look forward to, and I'm humbled to have the opportunity to serve this district.
Well, I know it's a great opportunity. We're all very excited for you. We've put together a list of questions. I've gotten to know you over the last couple of months. It's been a real pleasure. But we've got some questions that we hope will allow you to get other people to know you better. So
Good.
If you're okay with that,
Absolutely.
let's jump into some icebreakers. Okay, so Ryan, what is the most Texas thing about you?
Well, we always say everything's bigger in Texas, and so I think bigger would be the thing, and it's a bigger life. I mean, bigger than my wife and I do executive coaching, leadership development, where we're working with organizations and foreign governments all over the world, and we live a life bigger than anything I would have ever imagined before. So it's bigger. Our life is bigger, and so I think that would be the Texas part of my life.
Right, life is big in Texas. Okay, and if your teenage self could see you now, what would he say?
My teenage self, wow. I think my teenage self would be absolutely shocked. I didn't have the faith life that I have now. I was probably, you'd have to ask my mom, but I think I was a little bit of a problem child at times. But running for Congress, being involved in politics, being married, having children, I would not have foreseen any of that as a young person, and so I think all of that would be a shock. And so for a teenage self to look at me now would be rather shocking. But the other side, I think the other side of that is equally as important. And if what would 57-year-old Ryan say to 17-year-old Ryan would also be quite a question in my mind. And first of all, I'd say don't buy that Jeep that I flipped when I was 17. But I'd say hang in there and pay attention to people. I spent the first half of my life trying to build an IT business and systems and processes. And what I've really found my passion to be in life is people and seeing people live better lives and doing more than they ever thought was possible. And so I think I would tell myself, pay attention to people more than the systems and processes.
That's great. Okay, so the next question is a wild hypothetical. You're hosting a backyard barbecue. Who's on the playlist?
I'm hearing Bob Seger for some reason, but you know, there's some music I've been listening to lately. I'm not even sure what to call it. It's a collaboration of a bunch of different artists, and it's Old Church Basement is the name of the album, and just some phenomenal, inspiring music, and I think that's what would be on the playlist.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some of the other interview questions. Okay, what's one memory from your childhood in this district that shaped how you see the world today?
Well, I guess this is I grew up in a hard-working, no-nonsense community, and if you sat around with your hands out hoping for a handout, or you felt entitled to something, you're going to be sitting empty-handed for a while. And so the hard work, I think, was a big deal. You know, there's one story that comes to mind, and that is, my dad was military, And so he traveled a lot. He would come back and visit us a couple of times a year. And I used to walk across town. It's probably 3 miles, but I'd walk across town to my grandmother's house and spend the day with her quite often. And one day I mowed her lawn and she paid me, I don't know what it was, $5 or something for mowing her lawn. And my dad came in town and he picked me up and we went to Dairy Queen to eat lunch. And my dad said, well, did Omi pay you? My German, my grandmother was Omi. And he said, did Omi pay you? And I was like, yeah. So he let me pay for lunch. And I was really upset with him. I mean, I was mad. And I remember the next day I went to my grandmother's house again. And, I thought, well, this is my grandmother. She's going to feel sorry for me. And maybe she'll give me another $5 if I tell her the story. And so I told her. And she looked at me and she goes, now, how did you get over here? And I said, well, I walked. And she goes, where'd you get the shoes? And it was such a powerful thought to me. Where'd you get the shoes? And I thought, well, my parents gave me the shoes. And it was just a lesson of, people go before you and they give you the opportunity to stand on their shoulders to reach higher. And I think that was a big learn for me growing up in this community of the hard work and you get what you work for. You get what you earn.
I like that. That's great. Okay, so you've worked in the district since 1976. How have you seen it change?
Well, I've lived in the district since 1976. Like I said, my dad was Navy, and we moved back here in 1976. And how I've seen it change, wow, I guess the growth. I mean, small communities around here, lots of farmers and stuff like that, and just the growth around here has been exponential. And I think that's one of the big concerns for people is how do we manage that growth and what do we do with it? And it's also one of the things I love about this district is it's diverse, not just in socioeconomic ways, but really industry. I mean, there's farmers, there's military, there's automobile plants, there's education, there's universities here, and so very, very diverse community that all comes together and good people, just really good, solid, hardcore Americans, and I love this district.
Yeah, that's great. What's one thing people outside this district don't understand about it?
I think it might be that is the diversity that resides here and the good-hearted people that are here. You hear all these statistics and so forth about suffering people, and I don't doubt that there's people suffering everywhere, but this is a community where people are here for one another. People aren't standing around going, well, what's the government going to do about this? People are going, hey, you look like you need something. How can I help you? And I can't think of a better way to describe it than good, red-blooded, hardcore, hardworking, no-nonsense Americans that are here for one another and supporting one another.
Yeah, that's great. I agree with you. I think it's a unique area it's a great blend of peoples and culture.
It is.
Okay, tell me about your first business. What did you learn the hard way?
Well, my first official business, I guess, was a computer company called Absolute PC. I guess that was probably around 1990, 91, somewhere around there. And it was a computer company, and I transitioned from computer to networking. And I guess what I learned there is, as an entrepreneur, the most difficult thing about business growth is personal growth. And it's easy to build a business, and I know a lot of people will push back on that, but building a business is easy compared to building yourself. And if you're not growing yourself and building yourself, then you're just going to fall behind.
Okay, another question. You and your wife lead a global coaching company. What do you actually do day to day?
I mow the lawn and water the grass, and just nonsense stuff.
So you're busy.
No, I think it's exactly that. We're entrepreneurs, and so we're trying to. It's not staying ahead of the curve. It's staying ahead of expectations. I guess it might be a good way to put it, because you have people that are counting on you and depending on you, and people that are calling you regularly for advice and direction, and to feel like you're prepared for that. I would hate to. I would dread the phone call that somebody calls me one day and they're having a very difficult struggle at work. And I'm like, well, man, good luck with that. I don't know. And so to stay ahead of that and to be well read and to be understanding and to be a good listener. All of those things play a big part in it. And so I think, again, it's the aspect of growing yourself to stay ahead of expectations is probably the biggest part of our business.
Interesting, very interesting. Okay, you've coached foreign governments. How has that changed how you view America?
Wow. I think one of the things that I've learned about working with foreign governments and working overseas, and in the church world we call it the mission field, in the business world we call it consulting, and in both aspects, I've had the pleasure and honor of being in both aspects of it, and to see the way that foreigners, to see the way that others, whether that be a citizen, a foreign citizen, or a foreign government, to see the way that they look at America. I know that we hear how some people despise America and stuff like that, but my experience has been people really look up and respect America, and we're the city on a hill, and I like to say that when we're working with organizations, and I tell the lead team that as you go, this organization goes, and I think that that's very true globally. I think that as America goes, the world goes, and I see the way that people look at America, and that's really instilled the passion in me that, man, we've got to do something about America because we're under attack. We're under a cultural attack, and we've got to do something about that. I think the best analogy is when you walk into a room of young people as a teacher or as a youth pastor or as some kind of leader. When you walk into a room of young people, anybody with experience will tell you pick the leader, because if you have the leader, you have the room. And so you look around and you watch the people and how they interact with one another. You look at the young people, and whichever one is leading the group, that's the one that you want to identify with. That's the one that you want to reach out to, because when they say jump, the group jumps. And so with that mindset, where America goes, this world is going to go. And so it's critically important that we save, that we protect the American dream, and that we protect the culture that made us who we are. And so that's really important to me.
So some folks hear executive coaching and they worry that your involvement in executive coaching, that might make you somehow out of touch with people. What would you say to that?
I guess all I can do is laugh at that. I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, but when I hear the question, I think, well, what are you comparing that to? A bureaucrat that's sitting in an office in D.C.? And I'm not even putting them down. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying there's a person sitting in an office in D.C. that is determining benefits or lifestyle for somebody on the other side of the country. Comparing that to somebody who's working with people face to face every day in their environment. I mean, I could go into all of that as well, but yeah, no, I feel like I'm in touch more than most because I'm working with people on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's great, and I would agree with that. I know there are a lot of elected officials who are out of touch.
Yeah.
But I've observed you, and you're very much in tune with your audiences and the people you interact with. So yeah, I agree with your response.
That's a concern to me. Is I believe that we have ideas in place to protect from that, but I know too many people, good people, I mean legitimately, sincerely good people, that go to DC and get lost. They get lost in the idea of being a legislator or the idea of power.
So when did you first feel the real calling to run for Congress?
I guess the very first time was probably, I would guess, 2017. Never any interest whatsoever in politics. I loved what I did. I get to live my life with my best friend in the world. We work together. We live together. We breathe together. I mean, everything we do is together, and I feel like I have an extraordinarily blessed life. But going back to working with foreign governments and seeing the way that they look at America, and honestly, how they depend on America, seeing the way that they look and depend on America, and then knowing what's going on at home, seeing what's going on here, seeing the underlying thread of disruption and indoctrination, it just really concerns me. And so, there's a passion there. But going to your question, I feel like God called me to do it, and so it is who I am. It's my purpose.
That's great. So you've already touched on it, but you've seen the American dream up close. I know you have some concerns about where the country is going. How do you think we should address that? How do we protect the American dream as we move forward? How do we leave something for our children, our grandchildren, that is similar to the American dream that you grew up with?
Well, man, that's a big question. We've got to reduce the size of government. Government's just too big. The bigger government is, the smaller the people are, and vice versa. Obviously, the smaller government is, the bigger people are. And America has been leading the world for over 100 years in development, in what we've been able to produce, and that comes from the ability to dream, the ability to be bigger than we are, to think of a world bigger than what we're experiencing. And so that, and then combating, like I mentioned, this agenda to just tear us down, this agenda to keep us from being all that God's created us to be, is combating that and providing resources and educating people in that sense. But really just the groundwork of being out there and being face to face with people and encouraging them and helping them to do, be, and have more. So yeah, I mean, my mind wants to go a lot of directions with that, but we've got to, regardless of what you think of him, President Trump, I think we really appreciate him, but some question him and are concerned about some of the things he does. But the reality is he is America first. He is fighting for the American dream. And I, for one, appreciate that. The problem is he's doing a lot of what he's doing through what we call executive order. It's him sitting at a desk and saying, as president, I'm ordering that we do this. The problem with that is it doesn't hold up. It doesn't have sustaining power. And so we need people in Congress that are going to go there with the same America First agenda and seeing what things really are and being able to support him and codify some of these things, that it becomes law, not just executive order, not just philosophy, but it's how we operate. It's operational principles that drive us and help us to remain who we are.
Yeah, that's great. I like that what you're talking about is changing the nature of government, people having the right tendencies to take care of America first,
right,
and take care of the people.
It's always driven me crazy that I've watched so many presidents, and both sides of the aisle, I've watched so many presidents that negotiate when we talk about foreign negotiations and so forth and international trade. So many presidents have negotiated from a place of weakness. And that's always confused me. I've always thought we're the strongest, most powerful, most respected country in the world. Why are we giving in like we are? And so we're at a place now, where we're changing that. But we can't rely on what we're doing right now. We've got to codify these things. We've got to make these things law. We've got to set some strategic international trade policy from a place of not arrogance, of not you're blessed to be able to work with us, but a place that we're not gonna sell ourselves out to make this deal. We're gonna do what's best for both parties, and there can be win-win negotiations. There absolutely can be.
Yeah, that's great. So I know you've been out and about across the district, and I know you've talked to a lot of people. What are their main concerns? What are they struggling with day to day?
It's really reassuring to me and encouraging to me. I obviously pay a lot of attention to what's going on in the government and stuff like that. And to be really honest with you, it's a great question, but to be really honest with you, it just solidifies what I said earlier in this conversation, is there's a lot of hardworking people in this district that they hear a little bit about what's going on, but they're like, I don't even know what the government's doing. Just leave me alone and let me do my job. And so I'm really encouraged by that. There's obviously some concern with affordability, what people call affordability. But again, to be honest with you, there's a lot of farmers and ranchers out there that are like, I'm good. Just leave me alone and let me do my thing. Some of them have concerns with parasites that are coming across the border or possibly going to be coming across the border. There's 3 of those that we know of right now. Some of them are concerned. We just passed here in Texas the idea that feed's not going to be taxed, so that's going to lower costs for them and so forth. But the reality is a lot of their expenses are going down, and they recognize that. The other thing is what kids are learning in school. To a lot of these good red-blooded Americans, they're like, what's this thing I'm hearing? What's going on in my kid's school? And so are concerned about what kids are learning in school, what books are available in the library, what they're being taught in sex education in 2nd grade. I mean, there's just some horrific things out there that they're concerned. How are we going to fix this? And how are we going to improve these situations? And obviously, how are we going to keep our kids safe? Because when I send my kid to school, I want to make sure that they're coming home that day. And so those are some concerns.
Great. So to follow that up, what are the top 3 or 4 issues on your platform that you really want to focus on when you get to DC? How are you going to make a difference quickly?
Well, again, I think the quickest route, a lot of people want to go to DC and be like, I want to make a difference. And the reality is that's very hard to do, especially as a freshman congressman. And so I think my initial agenda would be, now I'm thinking I'm just going to pray. I just got to pray when I get there. But my initial agenda would be, again, to codify a lot of things that Trump is doing. He's doing a lot of good things that get overlooked and overshadowed by media today. But he's doing a lot of really good things. So to codify some of that would be my first step. Another thing that's really important to me is our healthcare system. Affordable Care Act. That the whole idea of that was to make healthcare more affordable. But if you listen to what's going on, we're going to make healthcare more affordable. So let's just say, Rob, that you're paying $700 a month, but the government is going to subsidize that, so that you only pay $700 a month. So now let's say the government's going to subsidize $700. So you're paying $1,400 a month, but you only pay $700. The government's paying $700. Here's the reality: the government doesn't have anything that they didn't take away from you and me. So they're subsidizing my insurance payment with money that they took away from me. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's a real conundrum.
Yeah.
And I know you'll do your best when you get to DC to change that and to make it better.
Yeah.
Okay. When have you had to stand alone for what was right, even if it cost you, even if it was difficult, even if it was unpopular?
Wow. Get real personal here, because it's where my mind went, and I seem to be fixated on it. But when my son was 17 years old, he was doing some things and didn't want to live by the rules in my home, and I told him he had to move out, and it wasn't easy, and he did move out. He moved in with a friend of his, and everybody was telling me how terrible of a person I was, and of course I didn't want to kick him out of the house, but I was like, you can't live in this house and do what you're doing, and it was hard. It was really, really hard, but he's come back and he's thanked me for that. And he's a great young man that has his own business and doing his own thing, and I'm very, very proud of him. But that was a circumstance that was very, very hard, and I had to make a tough decision. And I think it turned out for the best. And it doesn't always turn out that way. But to your question, something that I really did hard, that I felt like it was a decision I was making on my own, it would probably be that one.
Well, there's something to be said for moral conviction.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you've got to make a tough stand, and so that's great. What role has your faith played in all this? I know you have a very strong faith life. How does that match up with your run for Congress?
Everything. My top priorities are faith, family, and freedom, in that order, and I filter everything in my life through that. And so faith is the biggest part. If God wasn't calling me to do this, it would be the last thing I'd be doing. I wouldn't run for Congress if I didn't feel like God was not calling me to do it. And so everything that I do is filtered through that aspect. And just to carry that out a little bit further, faith is first. And honestly, a distant second, because my wife wouldn't have it any other way. Distant second is family, and so my wife is my best friend, and without her support, I don't think I'd be doing this either. And freedom for me is the freedom, again, the freedom to be the best that we can be, that everything that God has created us to be, and to take away the barriers that are keeping us from accomplishing that. And so faith, family, and freedom is how I filter everything in life. And so that is the central part of everything I do.
That's great. So let me follow that and put you on the spot.
Uh-oh.
What's one thing your wife, Bridget, would say makes you the right man for this job?
I think you'd have to ask her that one. I would hope that it would be his faith. I hope that she would refer to my faith and know that I'm a man of deep, deep conviction and a high level of integrity. So I think it would be those things. I would hope that that's what she would say.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. Okay, so we all know that politics is tough, and we know that it can take a toll on the family. Are you concerned about that at all?
Not concerned. It is a topic of discussion. We've talked more times than I can count about what that would look like. I am very, very excited that, our business can actually run from anywhere. We can live anywhere we want in the world. And from a physical standpoint, we don't have to live a specific place. And so I'm very blessed to say that Bridget and I have talked about that on a regular basis, and I would want her in DC with me as much as she possibly can be. And there will be times that she can't be, but we want to make accommodations for that, because I love having her by my side, and I'll do everything I can to keep her there.
That's great. And so when you get to DC, how are you going to stay plugged into the people back here in the district?
Well, I will be here as much as I can. I'm going to fly in at the last minute and fly out at the first available opportunity. We are going to be here in the district as much as we can, and we've actually talked about that as well. We've got some processes in place regarding town hall meetings and stuff like that, and a structure that's set up that is going to help us stay in front of the people, and more than anything, that the people know and feel like they're heard.
Okay, so to look way down the road, 20 years from now, what would you want people to say about your time in Congress?
I think going back to that, I think Ryan heard me. I'd really love people to say Ryan heard me. Will I be able to accomplish everything that people need or want? No, I won't. But for people to feel heard, for people to feel like I cared, and for people to feel like I did the best I could, I think we can do great things. I'm not using that as a scapegoat. I think that we're going to do some big, powerful, incredible things. But more important to me than what I do is for people to think that I heard them, that I cared about them, and that I did my best.
That's great. Okay, are you ready for the lightning round? Okay,
I think.
Whether you are or not, here we go.
I think we already had some lightning going.
Okay, Tex-Mex or barbecue?
Oh, well, I haven't eaten today, so both. How about both? But no, right now I'm thinking of enchiladas verde, so let's go with Tex-Mex.
Okay. What's one word your friends would use to describe you?
I think integrity. I think that would be a key word that people would use.
Great. What's the most underrated thing about Congressional District 35?
I don't know if it's underrated. I feel all the pressure. It's supposed to be lightning. I got to come up fast, but I think it's the community. I think it's exactly what I said. I don't think people talk or realize that enough, is that what a tight-knit community this is. With the diversity of the community, how tight-knit it is, and how well people work together.
Great. Favorite leadership quote?
Wow. Well, after telling the story of my grandmother, I think it's where the shoes come from. But it is, I wish I could do for one what you wish you could do for all. And that's just the power of just doing something. Because I am a planner. I like to have things set and forth, and sometimes I get tripped up trying to plan step 47 before I take step 1. And so that quote to me is just like, do what you can do right now. If you can do it for one person, do it for one person. And don't get caught up in well, when I can do it for 50,000 people, I'll move on this. No, just do it for the one. Do it for the one today.
Okay, so Ryan, is there anything else you'd like to tell your voters?
Yeah, that we are listening, that we hear you. And man, I'm passionate about many of the same things, not just because I hear you, but because I'm truly passionate about them. I mean, whether it's sending your kids to school and knowing that they're coming home safely, whether they're what they're being taught at school, what they're being offered at school, whether it's drugs or what it is that they're being offered at school, whether you're safe walking down the street of Main Street America. I mean, all these things are real concerns. We have ranchers that are concerned about parasites that could possibly be coming across the border right now. The affordability. I mean, people are concerned about what they're paying for different things, and I think we've seen some great strides in that area right now. But all these things are really important to me, and so I want to go to Washington and fight on behalf of my constituents. Speaking of things that are really important to me, so many people have talked about healthcare and how much healthcare costs, but even more than that is how the system works. So many people feel like they're a victim of the healthcare system, not consumers, but victims. I've walked with my mom. My mom's been battling cancer for the last year and a half, and I've walked with her through that. And just the way that we are treated in the healthcare system, you're just a number, and you're being told what treatment that you can get or how it's going to operate based on an insurance company that's 1,000 miles away. Worse than that, based on a person sitting in an office for an insurance company 1,000 miles away. And so the system is broken, and we need to fix it.
I agree. That's great. Well, Ryan, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your really thoughtful responses to these questions. We appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
Political ad paid by Ryan Krause for Congress.